As mentioned in other videos, there's a couple different ways to receive items in Lizzy, and in this video we're going to cover what we call the alternate method or the transit bin method. It's a bit more complex in the sense that we are moving inventory in real time. We're not printing barcode labels. We're literally letting Lizzy manage the entire process. And so if you want to use this, generally you're going to be a bigger dealership. You're probably going to be shipping items, receiving large orders. And the ideal scenario is that most of the items that are coming in off the truck actually have barcodes on them that you can scan before Lizzy has to do anything. So there's some way to scan the items to get them into the proper locations. If you're having to hand type all of the part numbers, this still could be a pretty good way to do it if you're quick at typing the part numbers. But if it's chicken pecking going through trying to get the part numbers in, it could take a little bit more time to do this. So you really need to think through the process. I'm going to be showing you the process, and then you're going to have to decide whether or not it's something that will actually fit into your environment. So the first thing you have to do before you can get started with this is you have to go to Settings, Inventory Defaults, and then down here at the bottom it says Use Transit Bins, and you'll note that it says not recommended unless properly trained, which is what we're going to be doing hopefully in this video. So the transit bin option, once it gets turned on, the receive PO screen acts completely different. So you just need to make sure that you understand this completely before you actually go through the process. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to walk you through an actual dealership using the transit bins. The screen interface or the visual part of the video is not quite as good quality as what you're seeing now, but it's good enough that you can see it. But I wanted to actually take you into a real environment to show you what the process looks like and how it works. And then along the way, I'll be explaining exactly what's going on the different screens that you're seeing, so that you make sure you completely understand what the flow is and how things work. So right now, the user at the terminal is going to be going to the receive order screen, and he's getting there through the inventory section. So you can get there from accounting or you can get there from inventory. He's going in through the inventory module. And you'll notice that he's receiving the purchase orders, but he fills in the invoice number that he needs for the order that he's actually about to receive. And then you'll notice that the list of purchase orders that he has do not include the little plus sign that you normally see where you can click it and it'll automatically select all the items on the order. He's actually only able to select the purchase order that he wants to receive, so that the system knows that any parts he scans are going to be directed at that particular purchase order, and he'll be able to go through the processes when he starts scanning the parts in a moment. Now the next thing he's going to do is start scanning, and when he does that, he's basically just going to pick up the first part out of the box and scan the barcode on it. Now you'll notice a couple things. One is in the background. When he first started scanning, there was no scan field there. There's nowhere for him to type a part number on that first screen. All of that stuff's gone. So if you're using transit bins, you have to tell the system that you're actually going to start scanning, and it pops up this other dialog. Now there's a lot of different screens that come up. The first part that he actually scanned happens to be this 646633 number, and it's telling him that he needs to put it in internet bin 795. Now if you watch the video on where I explain the bins and how the transit bins and all that stuff work, you'll know that in this particular case he has a green arrow that is telling him that this part is actually ready to ship. He can actually send this to shipping right now. He also has a note that tells him that this is the only part for the customer, so this is the only thing that they're waiting on, so he knows he doesn't need to get any parts from any other bins. He is literally just going to put this in a bin. Now the focus down here at the bottom where the yellow field is basically waiting for him to tell the system where he's going to put the part. Now, Lizzy is suggesting Internet 795, but that is only a suggestion. And when you're using these methods, you're probably never going to use the suggested bin because you're always just grabbing the next empty bin and scanning it with your scanner. So whether it's going to be a shipping bin, a transit bin where we're going to take this thing over to the shipping, the transit bin, the inventory bin behind me, I'm going to put it in a hold bin. It really doesn't make any difference. It's just Lizzy is waiting for me to tell it what we're going to do with this particular part. So in just a moment, you'll see where he actually selects the bin location that he's putting it in, and then this screen is going to disappear, and it's going to wait for him to actually scan the next part. Now on this part that he just scanned, it looks a little bit different. The system has figured out that there's something different about this part and what is going on, so it's displaying different information for him. So the first thing that is noticeably different is that the part says that this is the first part for the customer and it's not shippable yet, which means that this customer actually has more than one part that he ordered, and this just happens to be the first one. Now, just like the last time, the system has pulled a bin to put the part in, so it's suggesting that we put it in 196, and so we have some options, and it lists what our options are here. So the first option is that we keep this destination bin, the 196, and all we do is press the enter key. We put the part in 196 and we hit the enter key, letting the system know that we put it where it suggested that we put it. The second option says that we're going to put it in a transit bin. This is the roll around cart that we're going to use to move the part later. So we're basically putting it in a transit bin to hold on to it, and we'll put it in the destination bin later. And then lastly, we have that we're going to scan a new hold bin. We're basically going to turn around behind us and scan whatever bin location we want to put it in. So we'll just select the next empty bin and stick the part there, scan it, and then we'll be on to the next item to receive. Now on this next part, you'll notice that he must not have a barcode label on the part, so he's having to hand type the part number. So it's perfectly okay to mix up hand typing the numbers and barcode numbers all on the same screen. Now once he gets the part number in, this is again a different scenario. So this time it says the customer already has a bin with parts in it, and so it's telling you specifically that these parts or this part needs to go in bin 334. There are no options for putting this thing anywhere else. So the two things that we can do now are, one, place the part in the destination bin in 334 and hit the enter key. So we just carry it over, put it in 334, come back and hit the enter key. Everything is done. Or we can scan the part into a transit bin and we'll move it over to the destination bin later. So those are our only two options that we're presented with. We pick one of them and then we do whatever it is that we're going to actually do with the part. And when he scans this last part, or the last part we're going to be taking a look at, this is the final scenario. This is where the customer had previous orders come in. There's parts over in that bin, and we are in the process of scanning the last part. And so right now you see the message on here says the customer already has a bin with parts in it. And this is the last part, so it's now shippable. So you get the green checkbox, you get an alert to let you know that there's something else you're going to have to do here, and then you've got a couple different options. So the first option is that we go put this part in bin 55 and we hit the enter key, and we're just going to go through the process of shipping it later on. Now, if you're using this method, that's not really a very intelligent way to do this, because the whole point here is that we're shipping things as quickly as we can possibly ship them. So the first option really is an odd one to choose in this scenario. The second option is that we scan a transit bin and we're going to take this part over to the final bin later. Now when we do that, Lizzy will actually tell us when we take that part over and we scan the transit bin, Lizzy's going to say, hey, get the parts out of the other bin and put them over in a ship bin. So it'll alert us when we go to deliver the parts. But at this point, that is a valid option. Now, the last option is that I go over to bin 55, I get all the parts out of that bin, and then I come over to my station and I scan a ship bin. I just basically tell Lizzy that I'm going to take all these parts plus the one, and it even tells you grab all the parts from destination plus the parts you just scanned and put them in a new shipping bin. And you basically just scan an empty shipping bin on your roll around cart, and Lizzy will move all of those parts from, in this case, 55 into whatever ship bin you selected so that the shipping guys can pull the parts and ship them. Now, there's a couple things I want to mention here. You'll notice in the background while he's scanning these parts, the system is actually filling in all of the items that he's scanning. So the end result that you're going to be dealing with here is exactly the same as any other receiving process. The only difference is the front end where we're actually scanning the items and what is going on. But once he's done, he's going to have a receive screen with a bunch of parts on it that he's going to process just like any other order. Now you'll notice here that he's actually closing the scan control, and then he'll reopen it. And the reason is, if you look, he's realized that he's actually got a pack of something, and instead of scanning 12 different times for the thing, he ends up just going down and putting in the final value of that thing. An example of this may be that, we had 2 special orders on the thing, but now I've got 10 extra ones that need to go into stock. I don't have to sit there and scan all 10 of those things or type them in, because there is no process here by which I give it a quantity. We literally are scanning each individual item because Lizzy doesn't really know, 1, how many you have, and 2, how many of these things go to which customers. You may have 5 or 6 different customers waiting on the same part. So you're scanning one part at a time, but it's perfectly okay to close the control, go down and change a quantity on something, and then come back up and start scanning again, and the system will pick up right where you left off and keep moving. So it's pretty dynamic in the way that you can use it. Now in this part that he's about to scan, there are no special order items for this particular item. It's just going to go into stock. And the way that we deal with stock items is we just basically have a buggy or a cart, and we put all the stock items on the cart. The system has the ability to print a barcode label if you tell it to on that scan thing. It will not print barcode labels on special order items because you're handling them in real time, but on stock items it will print a barcode label if you have a printer, and you basically just print the label, stick it on the part, throw it in a buggy, and then you'll put it up in the inventory bins later. So it's just a different process to deal with the stock items than it is with special orders, but it recognizes the fact that this is not a special order item and tells you appropriately what to do with it.